Welcome back to Grasping the Gridiron, here with episode 21. As always, I'm your host, Zach Thummel, and thank you for listening. Today, we'll take a look at week 9 in college football. We'll look at our game of the week, look at some games around the country, and then we'll look at what's happening in the Northwest. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe on YouTube and share and rate on Spotify. Taking a look at our game of the week, number 8 Ole Miss visits number 13 Oklahoma. Ole Miss is 6-1 on the season, and Oklahoma's also 6-1 on the season. This is going to be a high stakes SEC clash between Brent Venables and Lane Kiffin, and Brent Venables' defense. It's kind of going to be the story here, and then Lane Kiffin's offense. Always attacking downfield and continuously accentuating the pace of play, running rapid fire, hurry up offense, and then taking chunk shots in Lane Kiffin. And I really think this is just going to be a phenomenal game from start to finish, and a game that it pits two 6-1 teams that have a major opportunity to make an impact on the rest of the season in college football. The Sooners lead the nation in total defense, sacks, tackles for loss, and opponents' yards per play. So they're allowing just 9.4 points per game, and that's what's amazing about this Oklahoma team. Despite the loss of John Mateer earlier in the season with the hand injury, he's now back, but that's really been the bright spot, and what's been amazing about Oklahoma is even with John Mateer, now kind of finding his footing, they still have that to give their quarterback, which is great. Ole Miss, counters with the top 10 offense that averages 491 yards and 37 points a game. They're led by quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, who's thrown for at least 250 yards in each of his 5 starts. So, for Lane Kiffin to have a guy coming in after Jackson Dart that he can believe in and trust and have figure out, I think that's phenomenal for Ole Miss going forward. And I know Lane Kiffin is potentially looking at Florida right now, but I would think he would be remiss if he started to look past Oklahoma here and didn't appreciate what he had in Trinidad Chambliss here in Ole Miss and in Oxford. This is just going to be the battle of the best defense and arguably the best offense in the country, and it's going to be some classic SEC football in this one. I'm going to take Oklahoma here at home, though. I think John Mateer gets going, and I think this swarming Oklahoma defense really figures it out here, and maybe with Lane Kiffin's eyes and brain potentially on Gainesville in Florida, I think that impacts the way that Ole Miss is playing and how his players get riled up. Taking a look around the country, we've got number 15 Missouri at number 10 Vanderbilt. This is a 6-1 Vanderbilt team and a 6-1 Missouri team. This is going to be where College Game Day's site is. So this is going to be just an incredible energy behind this matchup. And head coach Clark Lee and the Commodores have their highest AP rank since 1947, and Game Day is making their appearance to Nashville for the first time since 2008. So these are big time achievements and accomplishments for this Vanderbilt team, and I think in Clark Lee and Diego Pavia really have found something, and it seems like Pavia always puts them in a position to win. Vanderbilt ranks 8th nationally at 41.4 points per game, and Missouri is close behind at 39. With Pavia, Missouri also has a quarterback that has some similar traits as well, bringing that dual threat versatility, and the Commodores defense is really going to have its hands full. You flipping it to Missouri again. Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy ranks 3rd nationally with 840 rushing yards, and he's one of, if not the best running backs in the country. And just from a sheer statistic value, I think that has enough to keep the defense's eyes in places where they maybe shouldn't be, but. I think Vanderbilt here and Diego Pavia continue to roll at home with the College Game Day atmosphere. I think it's going to play right into the way that Diego Pavia's brain responds to these sort of big moments and how he hypes himself up. So I think this is going to be a perfect situation for Vanderbilt, and they're going to roll in Nashville. Next up, we've got number 3 Texas A&M. They head to Baton Rouge to face number 10 LSU. This is 7-0 Texas A&M and 5-2 LSU on a primetime clash there on SEC, or SEC clash on ABC rather. The Aggies enter unbeaten behind a balanced attack, averaging 464 yards, 36 points per game, led by quarterback Marcel Reed, who's put up 1,770 yards and 15 touchdowns as well. And then running back Reuben Owens, who's put up 396 yards and 3 touchdowns. LSU will look to bounce back from a 31-24 loss to Vanderbilt. This quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, who's accounted for 1,636 yards, 11 touchdowns, he looks to lead this offense, still finding consistency. This Tigers defense ranks ninth nationally in scoring, giving up 14.6 points per game, and they're going to need to contain this Texas A&M offense that ranks among the top 20 in total yards, and who has a really great back in Reuben Owens. So I think the Aggies, however, struggling with penalties and red zone defense, ranking near the bottom nationally in both categories. I think that's really going to impact that, and I think Garrett Nussmeier is gonna potentially have a day here. But with playoff implications on the line and LSU sort of sinking redemption at home, I think that the Tigers are gonna come out with this one on top, especially when you look at how the Aggies have struggled on defense with penalties and in the red zone. I think Nussmeier and Kelly and these the LSU Tigers are going to take advantage of that, especially in Death Valley behind the home crowd. And our last game around the country here, number 25 Michigan heads to Michigan State in East Lansing. This is going to be a Big Ten matchup that is going to be just electric, I think. From especially when you look at the history of these two teams and how these matchups have been, and no matter what over the years, there's been some sort of rivalry, sort of tomfoolery, if you will. The Wolverines enter as 8.5-point favorites after a 24-7 win over Washington, and they're powered by freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood, who's put up 1,440 yards and 7 touchdowns. And then they've also got a good running back, Justice Haynes, who's put up 705 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. Michigan's defense remains one of the nation's best, allowing just 17 points a game, and they rank 14th against the run. The Spartans, however, are led by quarterback Aiden Chiles, who's put up 1,262 yards and 10 touchdowns, and they're looking to rebound from a 38-13 loss to Indiana. And quite honestly, they face an uphill battle. Their defense ranks 121st in scoring and 111th against the pass. Michigan has a +9 turnover margin and strong red zone defense, which I think is going to really, really prove vital, or prove to be the sort of lifeblood of their win, and prove to be the the breaking point. And I think that Michigan's going to come in here and off of a good win, sort of announce to everyone that this Michigan style of football is back, and that the Wolverines are back under Sharon Moore. Now taking a look at our Pacific Northwest games here. 5-2 Boise State travels to Reno to face 1-6 Nevada in a late night Mountain West matchup on Friday on the CBS Sports Network. The Broncos enter riding high after a 56-31 win over UNLV, and they're led by Maddox Madsen, who has 1,823 yards and 15 touchdowns, and then running back Dylan Riley also rushed for 201 yards last week. Boise State's boasts one of the nation's most balanced offenses, ranking 12th in total yards and 20th in scoring at 36.9 points per game. Nevada, meanwhile, struggled on both sides of the ball, ranking near the bottom of the FBS in total offense at 128th and scoring at 133rd. Quarterback Carter Jones and running back Caleb Ramseur have shown flashes, but turnovers and red zone efficiency continue to plague the Wolfpack. With Boise State's offense surging and Nevada's defense giving up 28 points per game, I think the Broncos are going to look to stay at top of the conference race there in the Mountain West, and will go into Reno and come out with a win. Looking at our next game, 4-3 Toledo travels to Pullman to face 3-4 Washington State. The kickoff will be on CW, and the Rockets bring one of the nation's most efficient and balanced offenses to Pullman. They average 457 yards, 35 points per game, and they're led by quarterback Tucker Gleason, who's accounted for 1,483 yards and 12 touchdowns. Running back DeMonte Traynham has 601 yards and 7 touchdowns. And Toledo also boasts an elite defense. They rank third nationally in total yards allowed and seventh in scoring, giving up just 14.3 points per game. And, granted, Washington State, meanwhile, has struggled to find consistency. These last 2 weeks, they've looked really, really great, quite frankly, against Virginia and Ole Miss, but they just could not close the deal. And they rank near the bottom still statistically in total offense at 314 yards per game, despite strong play from quarterback Zevi Eckhouse and receiver Josh Meredith. The Cougars' red zone offense is perfect so far this season, though, despite the total offense struggles. They've scored on every trip, but they'll face a really, really tough defensive test this week. And Toledo enters with a +4 turnover margin and will look to stay in the MAC title contention as they head into Pullman. I think Washington State's going to snap a 3-game skid here, and they're going to even their record before they take on Oregon State next week and really start to get some momentum on the back half of this schedule. So with that said, Washington State gets a win here in Pullman.
Next up, we've got Wisconsin at number 6, Oregon. Oregon's 6-1 on the year, and Wisconsin's 2-5. Oregon boasts one of the nation's most explosive offenses. They rank 6th in total offense with 505 yards a game and 2nd in scoring. Quarterback Dante Moore he's just been sharp, throwing for 1,686 yards and 19 touchdowns and completing over 72% of his passes, and just has looked the part and looks like an NFL quarterback. The Ducks' defense has just been dominant as well, allowing only 254 yards and 14 points per game, which both are top 10 marks nationally. Wisconsin, meanwhile, struggles on offense, averaging 13 points a game, 271 yards, and which among the lowest in the FBS. Oregon cruised past Rutgers 56-10 last week, while Wisconsin was shut out 34-0 by Ohio State. I think Oregon is going to look to maintain playoff position here and take care of business at home. And for our last game here, number 23 Illinois travels to Washington. Both teams are looking to rebound after losses, as Washington fell 24-7 to Michigan, and Illinois dropped a 34-16 game to Ohio State. The Huskies' attack features a balanced game with quarterback Damon Williams, who's put up 1,837 yards and 10 touchdowns, and then running back Jonah Coleman, who has 568 yards and 12 touchdowns and is one of, if not the best back in the country. And then Washington also just has had a pretty solid passing game as well. And Illinois counters with one of the nation's most efficient passers. Luke Altmaier's thrown for 1,821 yards and 13 touchdowns and just 1 interception. And the Illini offense averages 34 points a game, and they're really going to have to overcome their defensive lapses here. And the Washington defense has been stout against the run, and the Illinois defense has struggled, particularly on third down and in the red zone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But I trust the Huskies' run defense and the Huskies' offense to take care of business here at home against Illinois. And then as far as Oregon State goes, they have a bye this week.